Hello ladies and gentlemen, today we've got a bit of a cool project on board. This is Elias's car that works here at QuickBitz. Elias is in charge of all the injector maintenance and flow matching, and also running the shop front. So he's the man you talk to when you ring the phone. Now Louis had this beast, he's had it for a while now, done a killer job, single turbo, stock LS in it. We had an unnamed computer in it previously, done on a budget. You know, the car went well, it made a mid 400 kilowatt mark, but we were just lacking all the drivability, cold starts, cruising, you know, all the glorious, beautiful stuff that the latest computers that are sold these days should have in them. The one that had in it before didn't, even though it was a late model computer, but you know, it was bought with a budget in mind and it done the job, wide open throttle and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, here at QuickBitz we like to do things right. We want to put the latest and greatest on there, so we've opted for a Haltech Elite 2500 together with a new IC7 dash. Gives us all the vital information. You can see the car's a nice car, it's pretty clean. You know, at the moment it's in a bit of a race trim, so but it is a street car. He drove it here, so we're going to keep you guys posted on the tune-up with it and just see how we go. We'll run through a few strategies that we run on the car. You can see it's got the Haltech Terminated harness, fits in there very nicely. It's a beautiful solution, plug and play. You know, you put power and ground, add a couple extras if you want to. There's a few auxiliaries there that you can add onto it, boost control, etc. Just makes the job so much easier, so much faster. It really takes the time away from wiring from scratch. The boys have done a great job with these looms to make them fit universally in many cars and combinations, so it's a no-brainer. If you want to buy a Haltech, buy one with a harness. You're going to save you a mega time in installation. The also beautiful thing is Haltech have got base files to suit their harness, so you can start it up at home with no real tuner help. So we highly recommend it. If you want to do a conversion at home, get a Haltech kit, wideband, harness, the whole lot, make your life easy. So we'll keep you guys posted with the whole process, and we'll jump in and start tuning and run through some of the basics and get you guys all up to date with what we're doing here. Hope you enjoy it. So we've finally fired up Elias's car. We've set up all the inputs and outputs, set the base timing, put our injector characterization data in. We just made a quick stat, so we just saw 361 kilowatt, fairly easy, things quite rich, so we've just pulled some fuel out. We're just about to give it another hit and see what it does. Aiming for around 10 PSI at the moment. See there, 434. We're almost back to what we were last time with actually a lot less boost. So we've got good tuning capabilities with this ECU and it's looking good. We'll just keep playing. So we've just made another pull, made 434, put 2 pounds in it. We're just going to tidy up the closed loop boost control feed forward so we have more of a steady boost curve, because you can see here, look at map, we started at 11.8 and she slowly drifted off to 12.2. So I know we're within 0.4 psi, but we'll try and get that even. So we've populated this base duty table and we've put in, you can see we're targeting 12 psi, which is this column here, and we've pretty much copied the boost controller output and put it in the base table. So that's just one way to get your feed forward done pretty quickly. At the moment now we're going to go for 14 psi, so I'm going to copy this table, paste it into here, and we've noticed a trend here that we've got pretty much 10 numbers increasing for 2 psi. So we'll increase that table to roughly match the trend, and we'll still probably be under our boost target because efficiency drops with boost, as we know. So that should hopefully get us to 14. We'll change the boost target here, 14 psi. We can also see back in the log the short-term fuel trim's pulling around 4%, so we can go back in the base table before we make the next pull, have a look where she's gone. There's a few ways of doing it. You can hit T for tracking, it'll highlight where you've been, so we know, all right, it's gone around there. So we're pretty much going to highlight and we'll sort of grab a cell from a little bit lower, and we'll just go P for percentage. We'll just go minus 4% for now. So we'll go a little bit, 1% towards the rich side. We'll just make sure that's nice and linear. It looks like we have to do some blending here, so we'll just linearize some of that stuff, make the table nice and smooth, and let's see what it does. So we'll clear the log, we'll fire it up, we'll let our post start run out. Remember that, guys, usually around 30 seconds, or else it will fudge your figure. Starts up beautiful, unlike the last ECU. Idle control doing its thing. So this is the post start here that I was talking about. And usually it's got some corrections, so you wait for that timer to run through. Also to wet the intake manifold, because you've got a lot of evaporation with the engine just sitting off. So we like to run the engine for about a minute or so. The longer the better, to be honest. Make sure the temperatures are equalized. Never just get straight on the throttle. Air temperature, coolant temp are within the last run, what they were before. So you know we're pretty good. We'll make the next pull. Hopefully the stock bottom end stays alive. Oh, 479. Hanging on. So just made 479, still hanging on. Let's review the log and see what we can see. Beautiful, look at our O2 correction. Only 1%, so we're bang on the money. That's very good. Right on target. Boost controllers, there you go. We're within the guest base duty number. So 14 psi, as you can see. Look at that, 14 psi within 0.2 psi. That's amazing. That's why you go a late model ECU, all the latest functions, closed loop controls. No need to have these external boost controllers and rubbish open loop stuff. This is closed loop, how it should be done. So this is why Elias went for this ECU. We'll turn this beast off. This is why Elias opted for this ECU, just to get the max out of it. You're spending the money, so we want the most out of it. The thing's running beautiful, mixtures are beautiful, awesome power for a stock motor, 14 psi, can't ask for anything more. So we just done another pull, just pushing the envelope there, just made 500 kilowatts on 16 pound. I think that's all we can go, because this thing's like screaming out saying stop. So pretty much Louis put a 12 position switch here, which you can see in this corner, and with that we're going to control our boost and our launch RPM. So pretty much if you look on our boost control table, at the moment we're just targeting boost over RPM. We're going to change those axes. We're going to put the top one as race timer, because we want the boost versus time from at the track. We'll go 0 seconds, 0.1 0.01. So as soon as you let go of the brake, 0.2, 0.5 of 1 second, 1.5, 2, and so forth, till you get to the number that you wish to use up to. Where we'll say up to, say, 5 seconds will be okay in this instance. And then the next axis, we're going to add the rotary trim module. So there we go. And again, we're going to put the positions in. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And again, we can now, if this car was flex tuned, I'd then enable fill composition and do that correction also. But we're running on one fill on this thing, so we'll leave it at that. So pretty much, then you've got this nice pretty table. You can see the little blue cursor, and it's jumping down between different boost positions. So let's go position 1. We'll pretty much set this up as a minimum boost. This car makes around 8 psi. We'll aim for, say, 5 on the launch, which is 0 seconds. So when you're at 0 seconds, we hold the trans brake. You see that cursor. See the cursor. And when you let go of the trans brake, you watch that cursor run through. So that's boost over time. So pretty much when we hold the trans brake, this is our commanded on trans brakes on our launch control. Then when we let go, it'll refer to what's in the table. So we'll pretty much go 5 the whole way. That'll just be just a low boost for that setting. Then we'll pretty much go 5 at the next one up, number 2, but then we'll squeeze gate pressure into it, which is, say, 8. You know, this is just, I'm just playing here, can be whatever at a moment. We like to give it a little, with each click, we give it a little bit more launch boost, a little bit more launch RPM, which I'll show you shortly. 10, 12. Okay, and then we can start introducing the ramp in earlier and earlier. So this thing's pretty happy at 14 psi. So we'll go 14 there. Like that. Again, we'll do a bit of a blend. This is very rough, guys, just an example for what you can do. So, and then we'll do the same for this. Just pretty much blend that, and then we've got our 16 psi high setting, which is all the way at position 12, and that'll have 16 everywhere. So you've got a few different modes there. Now the good thing with this same switch, we can even create a end limiter, which is your launch RPM. So we can go here, we'll go rotary trim, find it, there it is, rotary trim module. Again, we'll put our positions. Oh, sorry, I wasn't looking there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. All right, so all of a sudden, and then what we'll do, we'll put trans brake on this axis. So all of a sudden we've created a variable limiter here. So you see trans brake on the left, 0 and 1. So when the trans brake's on, it goes to that row. So what we'll do, we know it's a V8. These things, you know, it's a bit of a street car, so we'll give them a couple street settings. We'll go 3,000 psi, 3,000 RPM, and then we'll say all the way to, I'd say 4.5 will probably be the max that we'd sort of see in this. It's got a relatively small tyre, and then we can just drop RPM from there. Actually, we'll go 43, 4,200. 4,000, and then we'll just linearize that. So we've just done a bit of a scale there. So, you know, position 4 on the boost controller, which is that one. End RPM rev limiter is 6,800. When you're on the trans brake, it knocks it down to 4,000. So not only are we increasing boost with each click, but we're also lifting the launch limiter as well. So one switch can do two things. The other cool funky thing we can do here, and a lot of customers ask for, is a bit of an anti-theft function. That's when we go in here, we pick a number, and then we'll just simply put in there 0. So when they leave it at that number, the car just, you know, we'll go here, we'll go to start it. It just will not start. So that's a cool little function. It's a third function you can run on that switch. So again, getting pretty versatile with it. So that's another thing set up. Now we've got adjustable boost control. We've set up all our logging. The car's pretty much set, so made really good power. We're stoked with that. The car tuned up amazing. It only took well, within the first 2 pulls the car was tuned, and we've done a total of 5 pulls there, and she's within 1% in the AFR target. It's just been amazing. So much better than the last ECU. We've tuned it in a quarter of the time, not one misfire, not one hassle. Everything's running lambico. So one thing before we leave, actually, and we do to all cars that we tune here, we set up all the protections that, depending on what sensors they've got installed. So if there's a fuel pressure, oil pressure, etc., we'll set up all the protections. Pretty much we're going to go in the main menu here. We'll go to functions. We find engine protection, so we can just punch it in here. Engine protection, there it is there. Make sure that's on, and we hit, don't worry about that little message there, we hit enable. All right, so we go, you can do different levels of protection. We'll get into that at a later date, but we just use one level just to keep it stupid. So we set the rev limiter, and I normally say around 5,000. Well, actually on this car being a V8, still making plenty, so we'll go 4,000 limiter. I want a fuel cart just so I can avoid that big bang. Bit of retard, boost correction, let's pull 50% out. And lambda correction 0.1, which is the default number there. That's the active condition, so the engine will stay in protection mode. Once it clears out of the lean off or oil pressure drop, it will resume. If you select current and pass DTCs, it will hold that protection until you turn the car on and off. So most people go for the current drive cycle only option. So once that's enabled, we've got to set up what channels we want to protect against. So, you know, we'll just go straight up to O2 first of all. So once you click on the sensor, you've got the Diagnostics tab. We'll flip over to that, and then we got operating. So we'll go operating max. We set our AFR that we wish not to go past, so we'll just set 13.5. It's on low boost, D85, so it can actually go quite lean. We set the delay time before this protection comes in. You normally need to set, you know, 400 milliseconds or so is a nice number. If you go too late, you can blow it. If you go, you know, 100 milliseconds or so, you may be finding yourself into a lean trip. So try and avoid that. Minimum RPM, again, let's make sure she's on load before that comes on. And we want both conditions. We want to make sure the TPS is at least 75 to, we'll just say 80%. And we want to see at least 10 PSI of boost before that will false trip. Then we go here, we select our level of protection. So as we were saying earlier, we've got different levels of protection. We want it to trip level 1. So that's done for a lean off. Next one, oil pressure. Again, we'll go to Diagnostics. And then we hit this, operating. And then we'll go to level 1 again, because we're just using the same deal. Now you'll see there's nothing here. That's because, cool function, a little tables come up here. Oil pressure minimum over RPM. Now, over going through some logs, we'll see if we've got one in the ECU we can suck out. But we can see what oil pressure this thing makes. Now, she's a bit low on oil pressure, got some really thin oil in it, needs an oil change, so don't judge us on that. But here we go, we've got 58 PSI at 6,000. So let's just call it, we'll go 50 at 6. If we see any less than that, the engine will come into, actually we'll go 45 at the moment until he puts some thicker oil in it. So if it drops any less than that, the engine will come into protection. We just verified at the lower RPM, still got a bit, so yeah. And then these are quite, these numbers here will have more than that oil pressure all day. So that's the oil pressure one. Same goes for fuel. I'll just wait for this to do its thing. All right, fuel pressure. Diagnostics, bang, click the checkbox. This gives us a deadband, so this is how far off its base fuel pressure you are. So we'll just increase that at the moment. It's only a mechanical fuel pump, so they've got quite a wide range to operate. I will be turning this off on this car just because of that purpose, but 99% of the cars without mechanical pumps, we can rely on this pretty well. So again, you go level 1, you precondition both map and TPS. We'll say at least 5 psi for this one. Apply, okay. There's your fuel pressure protection. Then we'll scroll over to Coolant Temp, same deal. Diagnostics, operating maximum. We'll say we want this engine to kill at 110 degrees. Any hotter, the thing's gonna start turning into a banana. Same deal. Again, there's no table just because we've got the value we can input there. So that's pretty much all the engine protections done. That's probably the last thing you got to do. Although one thing I do recommend, before you pull the car off the dyno, turn all your protections on, do a couple runs, get the oil hot, get everything stabilized. Make sure you don't false trip anything, because sometimes you just can. So confirm that before you send it, or else the customer will be calling you up when he drives down the road and his car's shutting off on the first stab. So make sure we're all within the parameters there. And that's it. She's all tuned up and ready to go do some skids.